Oh, what's this thing right here? This kind of moves and spins. Oh, it's that 3D printer I was making a long time ago. I wonder if I should get this finished anytime soon. Hmm. Hello and welcome to Easy Projects. Yeah, so we're finally back and working on the 3D printer. So last time when we left, I kinda explained a little about the Z-axis here and how I planned to make it. Not really much in any detail, but I think I got it all sorted out now, and I'm still going with this basic idea that I had here. At first I thought I would make a plate like this, which has holes for the linear bearings and for the hex nut things. These, if you remember, for the lead screws. But then I kinda thought about it a little bit, and I figured it shouldn't really be solid, this piece, because it will just add weight, and we don't really need to get it heavier than it already is. So I kinda thought about it a little bit further, and I came up with something like this design, where I 3D print some corner pieces where I can push the linear bearings in. It would just take one bearing, and we would have one of these in each corner, of course. Then between these corner pieces I will cut some strips of 12mm plywood. I got some birch plywood, and it's reasonably tough. So that will join the corner pieces. And on the two sides here I'll add two different brackets that has a hole for these hex nuts. And this is what will be lifting the whole thing, so the linear bearings won't really take much force at all. It will all be on these. I am quite confident that these won't bend that much, so it will, get things out of alignment. So we will need to attach the linear rails here and the screws in each end, the top and the bottom. And I also designed some brackets for that, and we will get back to that later. And the thing I didn't finish completely is the brackets, or these L shapes that should hold the glass plate on the top here. So there will be two on this side and one on the opposite side over there. And the height can be adjusted with a wing nut on the bottom, and I'll have a spring, I didn't draw it, but a spring between this piece and the L bracket thing stuff there. And the bracket going around the wood will be metal, and this will also be metal. And that way, by having 3 points, we can adjust it. We should be able to get it leveled out pretty easily. And on the back one here, I think I'll add a little spring tension to push the plate against these two, just so it doesn't move around. But again, I didn't think too much about this yet, so I might change it, I don't know. Let's get back to how we will fix these rods and the screws in place. So this is the corner bracket. You already saw that on the other drawing, and here it's viewed from the side. This is the one that will take the hex nut, and viewed from the side also, except that yeah, it's like this. This slit is actually going all the way to the nut, so I can kind of slide the nut in and then clamp it in place with these two screws. So this is what will be holding the linear rails, It's not really drawn in the correct dimensions, just to give myself an idea of what I was making. And down here I have the ones for the screws. It's mostly the same, except these have like a cavity or a pocket for the bearing. And the bottom ones of these allow the shaft to go through, so I can attach the belt pulley. Alright, so let me get the 3D printer running. We have quite some hours of printing before we can continue, so it will be a few days from now. But for you it will be more like 30 seconds. I might snap a few shots of printing some of these parts and then throw it in the video. And I don't know if you noticed by now, but you know, maybe something has changed about the video. But I'm not going to reveal that now, that will be another video. So let's get going. Okay, so you saw me print these guys, which will hold the linear shafts in place, and they will bolt to the box with the same screws as I will bolt the top part, the XY plane, with. And I also printed the corner brackets. The rest is still to come. So I have another part here. That's the first version of the corner bracket. It's printed in ABS plastic, and on the first part here I had rounded the corners, but this got a little too steep, so the print kinda wanted to bend here. And another thing about ABS is that you can see how the layers are. This side is okay, you know, it could be used. But this side, and I haven't done this yet, but if I apply a little bit of pressure, oops, now it can't be used anymore. This one wasn't actually that bad. I had to apply a little bit of pressure, but anyway, I went and redesigned it so that the bottom part was a little bit thicker. This is also ABS, but the first time that I slid this onto the 12mm plywood, this one just broke straight off. And I glued it with super glue, but I can still, you know, oh, it's actually okay this time. Maybe this one was just really weak to begin with, because the other one did take a bit of force to break. But anyway, I didn't really trust this, so I went and picked another material. I couldn't really use PLA because it will be too close to the heated plate, so maybe it would get soft. So I got a new material called ColorFab XT, and I have the beginning of a print here, and you can see this stuff is just really tough. It's not as hard as the ABS, but you know, it's reasonably, you know, it takes some force to bend it, but it doesn't break. Now this is not, you know, the layers are this way, so it's the strongest part. But if I take one of these, you can see we have the layers here, and I can just really apply some pressure on this, and it will not break. It's kind of the same for PLA. The PLA is a little more soft than this, but PLA won't break either like ABS. You know, maybe if I printed this solid, it wouldn't have, you know, snapped that easily. But now that I got the other material, I just went and used that. So it's just kind of a tip. If you're going to print these brackets, maybe you shouldn't use ABS, or maybe your ABS is better than mine, I don't know. This is just the cheapest grade that you can possibly get, so you might be able to get something that's better. So another important part is the build plate, and I finally got that also. It arrived like 1.5 months ago, but anyway, it's a 40 by 40 centimeter glass plate, and it's 10 millimeter thick. Should I do this again, I would probably get it in like 8 millimeter or even maybe 6 millimeters, because this thing weighs 4 kilos almost. And of course we need to heat this up to 100 degrees Celsius. And the way I planned to do that was to make either a large PCB that could go underneath this, or maybe multiple strips this way. And then I will, at the back, I'll leave a little tap where I can solder the positive and negative wires, and maybe add an LED so we can see when the heater is on. And to attach the heating elements, I will use some high temperature gasket silicone. This stuff is rated for 310 degrees Celsius, and the plate should only be getting 100 degrees. But we have the heating element on one side of the silicone and the glass plate on the other. So maybe the heating elements will get hotter. But again, nowhere near 300 degrees. So maybe it won't look that pretty when we have a clear glass plate on here, but if I should make something 40 by 40 centimeters completely flat, I might as well just use that to begin with for the build plate. And that was my whole idea, to get a glass plate, because I know that's, almost perfectly flat. If that for some reason shouldn't work with the PCBs, I went and bought a couple of 100 feet of this resistive wire, like it's Cantel A1. It's 26 gauge, and I also got a little bit thicker one, also like I don't know, 200 or 300 feet. But this is going to require more work on my part, so I would really like the PCB method to work. My only concern really is that this glass plate has too much mass, so it will, take longer to heat up than the heat can kind of, radiate and get away due to convection. So I'll go and make the rest of the 3D prints, and then we'll have to take a look at this bracket here that will hold the glass plate. The two on the back here should be identical, but the one on the other side should have like a little spring mechanism that will hold the plate against these. And I also need to figure out how thick I want to make this rod, because we don't want these to bend when we apply the spring force from the other side. So I think we got pretty much everything that we need to assemble the printer now. I went and printed these brackets for the lead screw also, and I will add 2 screws through here to clamp it in place. And I did test it. When I put the screws in, they can kind of take my weight when I just lean on them, so that should be pretty good. I also went and cut some strips of 12mm plywood that will go in between these. So we will make a frame like this. And if we imagine this as to the side of the printer, like this, then these will go here. in the middle, of course, and then we will screw everything together. I think I'll assemble everything just loose fit like this, and then drill the holes and bolt it down when it's all assembled. That way it should be easier to get it aligned, I think. It is pretty important that the distance between the shafts and the screw is the same all the way from the top to the bottom, so basically they have to be parallel, else this will get stuck. Imagine if one of them is like this, then this will get stuck as I try to get to the top. So I think the plan is to first go and cut the opening in the front here, and then we screw in the XY plane here, and then finally I will add all this stuff for the Z-axis. After I've done that, I'll have to make the brackets that go on here that will hold the glass plate in place. I don't know if we will get to that in this video, but I'll start making it right after, so you shouldn't have to wait a few months for that to come out. When that is done, we can kind of add the motors and we can maybe fire it up. I'll of course have to make the heating element for the glass plate, but for that I just have to pull the plate out again and then mount it, so that should be the benefit of having this just hold in loosely. So I'll make the opening start 10 centimeters from the top here. And if I also go 10 centimeters in from each side, that will leave me with a 40mm opening or thereabouts. So this is the plan to begin with. I don't really know if the opening here is too small. It looks a little small on this huge box here, but it is 40 by 50 centimeters. So I think I'll go ahead and round the corners a little bit just to make it look nicer. So I think that is better. I will of course sand these lines away when I finish cutting it out. So I think the jigsaw will be the fastest. I got it all cut now, and I ended up passing over the edge with a router bit also because it looked a bit messed up. Well, it looks okay from a distance, but if you zoom in, it kinda has some kinks here and there, and I messed up in the corner a little bit, a few places. This one's pretty good. Yeah. So that would be the worst one, but it looked a lot worse before I routed it. So. So I'm almost ready to screw the XY plane in place. I just need to drill some holes for the corner brackets here. I went and made some 18mm spacers to go in here, 2 for each. And they are 62 by 50mm like these red pieces. I thought it would be nice to have some kind of a drill guide to hook onto the corners here so I can drill the holes more precisely. So as you saw, I went and made one in aluminium. The only problem is I kind of goofed up because I didn't have room for the second hole. It would be out here. So I can make the first hole with this guide and then measure out for the second one. So I think this is as far as we will get today. I basically got the XY plane installed and everything still spins quite smoothly, and this goes back and forth. I didn't do a terribly good job with these spacers because the clamps I had were too large, so they kinda slipped a little bit. But anyway, we can see it's homemade then. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And I will be working on this again tomorrow and get the rest of the stuff installed. So I promise the next video will come very soon. So, see ya!